Welcome to HealthyCast, our YouTube channel on health, nutrition and healthy lifestyles. Here you will find information, tips and tools to improve your health and well-being. At HealthyCast, we'll cover nutrition, physical activity, mental health, stress management, and many other important aspects of living a full and healthy life. Join us on this journey to a healthy and happy life. In today's video we will explain what insulin is, and what effects it can have on weight gain or loss. Let's get started. Insulin is a hormone produced by the pancreas that helps regulate blood sugar and energy storage in the body. When you eat foods that contain carbohydrates, your body breaks down these carbohydrates into glucose and releases them into your bloodstream. As blood sugar rises, the pancreas produces insulin to help cells in the body take up glucose and turn it into energy or store it for future use. However, if you eat large amounts of carbohydrates or high-sugar foods on a regular basis, your body may have a hard time processing all the glucose, and your pancreas may have to produce a lot of insulin to compensate. Excess insulin can lead to blood glucose being stored as fat instead of being used for energy. In addition, insulin can also affect the way the body processes and stores other nutrients, such as protein and fat. When insulin is high, the body tends to store more fat and reduce fat burning. This is because the presence of insulin in the blood can inhibit the burning of fat by the body, which is known as lipolysis. Insulin is an anabolic hormone that helps store nutrients such as glucose, protein, and fat in the body's cells. When insulin is produced in response to carbohydrate consumption, glucose becomes the main source of energy for the body and fat burning slows down. Insulin can also inhibit the production of other hormones, such as growth hormone and thyroid hormone, which play important roles in burning fat. When insulin is elevated, these hormones can be suppressed, which can make it harder to burn fat. This situation is known as hyperinsulinemia, which is a condition in which insulin levels in the body are abnormally high. This condition can be related to several causes. First, insulin resistance. When the body's cells do not respond properly to insulin, the pancreas produces more insulin to compensate. Over time, this can lead to elevated insulin levels in the blood. Second, type 2 diabetes is characterized by insulin resistance and increased insulin production by the pancreas. This can result in elevated levels of insulin in the blood. Third, polycystic ovary syndrome. It is a hormonal condition that can cause hyperinsulinemia due to insulin resistance. Fourth, excessive consumption of carbohydrates and sugars can increase blood glucose levels and, as a result, the production of insulin to compensate. Hyperinsulinemia can have negative health effects, including increasing the risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. Therefore, it is important to control insulin levels in the body through a balanced diet, regular exercise, and medical treatment when necessary. It is important to make a very important reflection on insulin and its effects on health. Do you know what type 1 diabetes is? Type 1 diabetes is a chronic disease in which the body does not produce enough insulin due to the destruction of the beta cells of the pancreas, which are the cells that produce this hormone. Type 1 diabetes usually develops in childhood or adolescence, although it can also appear in adulthood. Symptoms include increased thirst, frequent urination, fatigue, unintentional weight loss, and increased appetite. It is a disease that today can be controlled through the use of synthetic insulin, but in the past, do you know what happened to patients with type 1 diabetes? They were unable to store any nutrients in their bodies due to the natural absence of insulin. Basically, they were consumed. No matter how much food they ingested, their body was unable to store it. Now, what about type 2 diabetes? Type 2 diabetes is the situation in which we find ourselves with very high levels of insulin in the blood, that is, the opposite situation of type 1 diabetes. If with type 1 diabetes patients were literally wasted away, dying from extreme thinness, type 2 diabetes has the opposite effect, gaining weight uncontrollably until the body develops a host of health problems, such as certain types of cancer, risk of cardiac events, metabolic syndrome, and many other complications. It may seem reasonable to link a trend of weight gain to the amount of insulin in the blood on an ongoing basis, right? Insulin secretion is primarily stimulated by increased blood glucose levels after meals. When we eat foods that contain carbohydrates, the digestive system breaks them down into glucose, which is absorbed into the bloodstream and increases blood glucose levels. This increase in blood glucose stimulates the beta cells in the pancreas to release insulin into the bloodstream. It is curious that the consumption of foods with a high level of fat, such as salmon or avocado, does not generate a sensitive insulin stimulus compared to when we consume carbohydrates, or, to a lesser extent, protein. Fats do not stimulate insulin secretion because their metabolism and absorption in the small intestine occurs differently from carbohydrates and proteins. When we eat carbohydrates, they are broken down into glucose in the small intestine and quickly absorbed into the bloodstream. The presence of glucose in the blood stimulates the release of insulin by the beta cells of the pancreas, allowing glucose to enter the cells to be used for energy or stored as glycogen. In contrast, fats are not broken down into glucose and are slowly absorbed in the small intestine in the form of fatty acids and glycerol. These components are transported through the lymphatic system and then to the liver, where they are metabolized into ketones or fatty acids and used as an energy source. Because fats do not significantly increase blood glucose levels, they do not stimulate the release of insulin. It is important to note that excessive fat intake can have other negative health effects, such as increased risk of cardiovascular disease and obesity. Therefore, it is important to maintain a proper balance in the diet between the different macronutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, to optimize health and prevent chronic diseases. Returning to the subject of excess insulin and its relationship with weight gain. Added sugars are found in many processed products, including sodas, sports drinks, breakfast cereals, energy bars, baked goods, candy, desserts, and countless others. Manufacturers often add sugars to improve the taste, texture, and appearance of products, as well as to extend their shelf life. Our diet has undergone a great change in recent decades. Progress, globalization, and the search for the well-being of our species have achieved incredible things, but they have also generated unwanted effects. We have delegated our food, in many cases, to companies that produce a large number of food products that we use on a daily basis. Companies are companies, and the reason for their existence, namely, is the generation of benefits. Technology has made it possible to lower the production costs of these products and increase the margins of these companies, in many cases, at the expense of introducing substances such as corn syrup into our food. It is commonly used in the food industry as a sweetener and is found in many processed products, such as sugary drinks, breakfast cereals, sauces, condiments, and desserts. If we compare our diet with that of our ancestors, one of the most significant differences is the habitual intake of this type of substance, which stimulates insulin in a very sensitive way. If we add to this circumstance that we have reached a state of abundance where we have virtually unlimited access to food, we can conclude that we stimulate insulin production more and more frequently. Remember that the presence of insulin inhibits fat burning. So what do you think happens when someone constantly stimulates insulin secretion? You will inevitably gain weight, as your body will be responding to insulin's command. If this occurs consistently over time, the body will develop what is known as insulin resistance. This means that our pancreas will need to secrete more insulin to perform its normal function of delivering nutrients to our cells, and in the process will impede, almost permanently, your body's ability to use your stored energy reserves in the form of fat. In summary, glucose is the main stimulant of insulin secretion, and therefore, to promote fat burning, it is important to maintain a healthy level of insulin in the body. And with this we come to the end of our video today. We hope you've enjoyed the tips and information we've provided about insulin. If you liked this video, be sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on future health and wellness videos. We'd also love to hear your thoughts and suggestions in the comments. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon on our channel. Until next time.